out fighting. Good luck to the both of you.
8 rounds, junior welters.
And set for action, round number 1. This is a scheduled 8-rounder. It's amazing sometimes, Randy Gordon, as you look at two guys that come in at the same weight, how it could appear, and this one's fairly obvious, that there's a distinct size mismatch here. Jorge Teron, a tall fighter, strong upper body, lanky, long legs, and he appears to have a huge advantage over Sebastien Hamel in terms of size.
Well, it always looks like that with Teron because he's just a little bit over 6 feet tall. He's got those long arms, but because he loves to slug so much, he gives away much of that height advantage and that reach advantage.
Decent knockout ratio in the early stages of his career, starting to get into that turf where he needs to establish himself as a bona fide contender to go on to bigger and better things. Got 14 wins, just 1 draw, 9 knockouts. Hamel, on the other hand, not a big puncher. 1 knockout from 12 fights. Split him at 6-6. He's had 13 fights, 1 draw. Just 1 KO, though. Doesn't bode well. Not a good omen, his ability to knock out a guy like Teron. And Teron slaps him around in the center of the ring. A couple of short blows. Not very powerful, but enough to back up Hamel to take him out of his game.
You're seeing Teron throw a lot more right hands. That's because he's in against the southpaw. And the theory is, against the southpaw, let the right hand go a lot more.
Substantial reach advantage for Teron. He's taking advantage of that so far. And a nice jab. Comes in the right hand, partially blocked by Hamel, but the thud of that force actually backed Hamel up a little bit, even though he blocked it. And Hamel counters with the right hand, that roundhouse down the home.
I'm telling you, Teron likes to slug. He should be on the outside, pawing with the jab a little bit, trying to set up that right hand. Throw that right hand in combination. Don't just lead with the right hand. Left, then right down the middle. Go to the body with it, go to the chin with it.
And he could completely counteract that roundhouse right by using the jab more consistently and keeping Hamel at the end of it. As you say, he's displayed a little bit of a reluctance to use what should be the key weapon in this fight. As a matter of fact, you hear it all the time as a boxing adage. It's the key weapon in almost every fight. And that'll be that left jab. Lead right hand that time scored as Teron switches it up. Those punches blocked, although they look good, and might have impressed the judges. Hamel displaying a decent amount of defensive prowess so far. In his first round, he's going to need.
And, you know, that's saying something that Hamel is a defensive fighter, whereas he's been stopped in the first round on 2 other occasions.
Well, he's learned some lessons so far in the early portion of his career. 10 seconds to go, round number 1, scheduled for 8 in the junior welterweight division. Good establishing round. Nice foundation established by Jorge Teron. Out of the Bronx, New York. Popular New York kid. And a decent account of himself by Sebastien Hamel. Although he really only landed 1 significant punch. Get a look at the tail of the tape in this fight, and you see that both guys are approximately the same weight. Hamel, surprisingly, 6 years older than Teron, even though he has limited experience and less fights. You got the southpaw against the orthodox style, and kid coming from out of town to fight in another guy's hometown.
Many times, fighters are afraid to fight in other people's hometowns. And I used to implore fighters, I tell them, do not worry about coming to New York. The judges here, I think, are the best in the world. You know, you might get some disparity in scores, but there's never a game played. In my 7 years as commissioner, I never even thought there was a game played. There were close decisions, yeah, but never did anybody do anything dishonest.
Well, if you looked at the Tua fight, if anything, Robert Hawkins, who was the underdog, of course, Cedric Kushner, you saw with his arm around David Tua, said with Gotham Boxing, the promoter of the fight, he certainly didn't get any favoritism with the pencil in those 2 96-94 verdicts.
But think about it. A 98 score means a guy has won basically 8 of the rounds.
Yeah.
In many of those rounds, which were very, very close, you just take 2 of those rounds away and flip-flop them and give them to Hawkins. You've got yourself that 96 score. So, you know, there's really nothing wrong with that.
Meanwhile, Teron doing a better job of keeping Hamel out of range for his punches, and he's landed a couple of quick, slick right hands so far in this round. Hamel fighting largely off balance. Kind of a weird peekaboo Customayo style out of a left-hander. It's reminiscent of Mark Breland a little bit. Even though Breland is in the other corner.
Well, Mark Breland is that tall, that Tommy Hearns-like welterweight, that 6'1.5" welterweight spring bean, who had a very decent left hand and a pulverizing right hand. In fact, I'd have to say that Mark Breland was probably one of the top 5 amateurs of all time with his 110-1 record.
Yeah, he was a terrific fighter, very clever fighter also. We'll see if he can impart some of that knowledge and wisdom from his ring experience as a trainer now to Jorge Teron. Teron showing us a little bit more ability in this round. Good head movement, good defensive skills, and that lead right hand is scoring frequently as Jorge Teron is showing off a multiplicity of skills here in this second round. Much better round for Teron, even though I thought he easily won the first.
But I got to check this one. Multiplicity. I'm looking it up right now. Wow.
There's a difference to plethora, which when you're making boxing fans go to the dictionary, you know you're in trouble.
No, not them. They know what it means. I have to check it out.
Good left hand to the body there by Teron. He complains about being hit on the back of the head by Hamel. He's had Hamel off balance, looking awkward throughout this fight. As we're inside the final minute of round number 2 here at the Roseland Ballroom. Great night of action so far.
Oh, yeah. This is a much different Teron than I saw back in December on Long Island when he stopped Lorenzo Bethea in the 8th round. In that fight, he went to war almost every round. He had his face swollen and puffy. I mean, it wasn't that he was lucky to win. It just is an ugly fight for him. This one, he's fighting very, very smart.
Perhaps looked up the definition of the word professional. Looking at a more patient fighter, as you said, Randy, and he's showing us some versatility in this fight. Able to dodge those punches by backing up. Good movement, good ring generalship, dictating the pace of the fight through 2 rounds. That was an interesting round by Jorge Teron. And maybe he is going to school on his previous fight, Randy Gordon. I don't know if you talked to him about getting involved in these brawls. Seems like Breland certainly has. And I thought he fought a very clever second round of this fight.
Actually, a lot of us have mentioned it to Teron. So why do you do that all the time? And he kind of shrugs. He said, you know, that's kind of the macho in me. I don't mind it. I like getting in a shootout. But believe me, Mark Breland doesn't want to see him do that. He wants to see him have a longer career, and you're going to have a much shorter career if you're going to be a slugger and stand there and have your head pounded all the time. Tonight, I see a much different fighter.
And if you ever wanted to use the word focus, that's Pat Riley's favorite word. You look in the corner and you see that Mark Breland has the full attention of Jorge Teron, and those eyes were focused on the game plan here. We'll see if he can execute in round number 3, scheduled for 8 rounds, junior welterweights. Jorge Teron, the taller of the 2 fighters, easy to distinguish. He's got the white trunks with the red trim. And we've got Sebastien Hamel, who came in from Montreal, Canada to Midtown Manhattan for tonight's action. And he is wearing kind of a wild version of trunks here. I don't know that that's as significant as the fact that he's been backing up most of his time. Don't know how you describe those trunks.
Zebra, I don't know.
No, sometimes you see fighters and they come in with outfits on. It looks like they bought them at a Tijuana flea market. This is very distinguished. But if that's the sole distinguishing characteristic of Hamel's performance, he's going to be in trouble like he is right now as Teron starts to tee off and he says, yeah, come on. Let's fight. In the corner. Rocks Hamel and Hamel loses his balance. And that's going to be ruled a slip. He tripped over his own feet. However, there was the force of a punch also involved, and I think Teron's got this kid rocked.
And he's taking his time. He's just walking him down, cutting the ring off, looking for that right hand to end it.
Hamel, phlegm coming from his mouth. He is hurt in this round. He's in a survival mode right now, backing up all the way, Teron pummeling him in the center of the ring, taking his time, showing a lot of patience. Lands a right hand at the end of that exchange. First shot was the heavier punch, and it was blocked. Hamel trying to survive right now. See if Teron lets him off the hook. Definitely hurt early portion of this round. Left hand now scores to the temple, side of the head. Teron finding more and more openings, having less trouble landing punches as he follows Hamel around the ring, Randy.
Sometimes he follows him, sometimes he cuts the ring off. When he cuts the ring off, that's when he's ultra effective. Just like that.
Well, if you put up a billboard for fatigue, it's Sebastien Hamel right now in the center of the ring. Mouth wide open, legs a little wobbly. Not quite spaghetti yet, but swinging and missing when he does offer up some offense. Trying to stave off this pressure. Pop, left hand, another one.
Yeah, those are solid left jabs.
Hamel a little out of sorts. This is the least composed we've seen him in this fight. Put up 2 pretty decent rounds, although he lost them. And Teron really showing us something here, Randy. I think he must have been whispering in his ear between fights. He's showing us some patience, not going for the home run right away. Staying out of danger. Hamel flailing away right now, trying to get back into this thing. Final seconds of round number 3. And a powerful statement made here by Jorge Teron that he is in command of this fight. Perhaps lessons well learned, Randy. Gotta like Mark Breland. Haven't seen too much of Mark Breland's work as a trainer. We've seen Buddy McGirt, a guy that you mentioned earlier in the program, and he's distinguished himself as an outstanding trainer. Though we've seen him in a couple of losing corners of late. Freddie Roach, now one of the top trainers in the world, a terrific young lightweight in his day, in the days of the ESPN fights and USA Tuesday night fights. Always liked Freddie Roach. He's out there in Johnny Taco's gym in Las Vegas. Got himself a stable of fighters, kind of fell into Manny Pacquiao, but you can see the influence. Maybe Mark Breland can work his way into that category of trainer.
Well, I think this is the perfect student for Mark Breland because Teron has that same kind of Breland height, that jab, that right hand, the quickness. Mark is showing him what to do in the corner right now. And again, he's very, very focused. There's that Mark Breland left jab, if you will. And then that right uppercut, the right cross. He's listening to everything Breland tells him.
Comes out for round number 4. I have him up 3 rounds to nothing on the scorecard, 30-27.
Only thing is, that last round, I gave 10-8 to Teron because I wanted to distinguish that the first 2 rounds, which were 10-9 for Teron, that last round wasn't 10-9. He really dominated that round.
I like your
without
theory.
a knockdown.
You don't see that too often. I don't know that I would have gone 10-8 against the tradition of boxing scoring without the knockdown. I like to see a guy just absolutely annihilate somebody, and maybe only by the grace of God does the other fighter remain on his feet. But certainly a dominating performance so far by Teron, and he continues to pour it on, and he's doing it in a patient fashion and with the kind of style that makes you think he's ready to go on in this game.
Oh, I've got to believe he is. I mean, he's 21 years old.
Hasn't been hit with anything. Hamel landed 1 shot early in the first round of this fight, but he throws a lot of his punches while going backwards. Boy, Hamel's showing us some tenacity here, though. He took a beating in round number 3. You made it a 10-8, and he's right back in there trying to battle in the center of the ring and keep this vicious attack off of him. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Well, by not throwing a lot of punches last round, just walking his man down, Teron risked not knocking his guy out. He said, well, you know, I'm not going to empty my tank and just throw a million punches and maybe not knock him out. But because he didn't, and he didn't gamble, he let his guy right off the hook.
And you made a great distinction. Teron not really following Hamel around the ring, but doing a great job of cutting the ring off. You can run, but you can't hide. That's the old Joe Louis adage. And Teron is giving Hamel no territory where it's going to be sovereign in the middle of this ring. Teron continues to come forward, dictate the pace. Been doing that since the opening bell. That short right hand underneath again.
And again.
Well, that's a good weapon for Jorge Teron. Gotta love Hamel coming back with a roundhouse, trying to keep him off.
He's using that right hand like a jab. It just keeps coming right out, quick.
His fists are flying like a swarm of bees at Sebastien Hamel, and it's not easy on the fly to come up with something that's going to keep him off of you. These are stinging shots coming with regularity by Teron, and now Hamel starts to make a statement. Yeah, I love it. 20 seconds to go to midway point of this fight. Hamel surviving in there. Teron putting on a display.
See, if this is like that last fight against Lorenzo Bethea, Teron would be coming in and just rumbling with him. But no, he got hit with a couple of shots, but lays back and goes right back to work again.
Ringside observers seeing a clinic here in fundamentals. Hamel gets brave and throws a left hook to the body. Teron shrugs it off and continues. Just poke that jab in the face of Sebastien Hamel. Get a good look at a real effective weapon here, Randy.
Watch these right hands. There's one that he shoots up the middle. He's going to come right back, boom, right down the middle with a quick one. And I believe there might be one more he tries to time it. Boom, that one he missed with. But I like the way he's using that right hand over and over and over again.
Literally right down Broadway with that right hand. He's hit him with that a couple of times. You would imagine that'll be something he'll fall back on as we get into the second half of this fight. Hamel, to his credit, was hurt, but was able to recover. But look at him coming out of his corner right now. His mouth is wide open. It looks like the lips are tasting some blood. Neither fighter's been knocked down. Certainly Hamel has not come close to a knockdown. He's landed maybe 2 power shots of significance in the fight. And we get ready for the second half of this one. We'll see if it goes the distance. This is round number 5 of a scheduled 8-rounder here at the Rosedale Ballroom. Jeff DeForest and the commissioner, Randy Gordon. Roseland. I get caught up in my geography here. Came in from out of town in the last second.
You're from Florida. And
all right, we've had too much sun in our face.
And actually, there is a Rosedale not all that far from here.
Yeah. All right, Teron continuing to pour it on. Hamel trying to fire back now. And he's done a decent job in the last few seconds of the 4th round and now early portion of round 5, trying to do something to keep Teron off of him. If Teron gets close, you get the feeling he's got the capabilities of ending it.
See, but the one mistake he's making right now, Teron is continually going to the head. He's got to get back and get that body work going again.
And now it's Hamel that's going to the body. Teron able to dodge these punches and get out of harm's way. Underestimated defensive ability, maneuverability in the ring, and that evasive quality. You saw it in football with Dan Marino in the pocket. You saw it with the great Roberto Duran. Underestimated as a terrific defensive fighter because it didn't look like he was trying. He just had that subtle head movement that would keep him out of harm's way.
So true. Roberto could do it all. He could punch, he could box, and yes, that footwork is just amazing in his prime.
Slip a punch with the slightest of head movement. You hear trainers all the time imploring their fighters, keep your head moving. Well, there's one thing to move your head like you're a bobblehead doll, like you're a Mr. Men in there, and there's another thing to do it effectively. Teron's showing some of those skills tonight. Somewhat of a mirror image, round after round. Teron coming forward, Hamel trying to keep the pressure away. Hamel reduced to throwing 1, maybe 2 punches at a time. Struggling to land 1. Certainly struggling to land something meaningful, Randy.
Sebastien just trying to figure out what could I do to beat this guy? What can I do to land some punches? That height is frustrating me. That reach is frustrating me.
Every now and then he wings the right hand. If he ever connects, he might be able to get himself back into this fight. Approaching the final seconds of round number 5. Hamel showing a little bit of swelling around a left eye. Nothing serious, nothing that's going to threaten a stoppage here. And Teron content to peck away and continue to put rounds in the bank. It's almost like he's opened a savings account with the judges here. Hamel pawing. Final 10 seconds, round 5. It's becoming more and more implausible that Hamel can win a decision in this fight. We'll see if Teron tries to close it out with a knockout. Probably the least active round of the fight for Jorge Teron. And yet, you have to admire the fact that he's gone to school on some previous mistakes. Randy, you mentioned it a couple of times, and this is a guy that likes to brawl. Maybe he needed to calm down, and while it may seem to him like a step backwards to go the distance with a Sebastien Hamel, it might be the best thing that ever happened to him.
You know what? Former heavyweight contender Ernie Shavers from the 1970s.
The Acorn, I love him.
Yep, fought Muhammad Ali in 1977. Told me the worst thing that ever happened to him is that he went on a run of very early knockouts. I said, why is that? He said, I learned nothing. I hit a guy in the chin and he went down. I hit him in the body, he went down. What did I learn? Tonight, Teron is learning something. Jorge Teron is learning something. And he's winning very impressively while he's learning.
Here we go, round number 6 of a scheduled 8-rounder. Great night of boxing here at Roseland. I love the atmosphere here. If you're a boxing fan, you gotta love it. Next time they have a card here, make sure you make plans to come on out. Randy, you've seen them all. I've been to a lot of boxing venues over the years. And this is the kind of thing that you like to see. Young fighters on the rise. You get a good look at a heavyweight like David Tua. See guys that are star caliber. Maybe going to be wearing championship belts in the heavyweight division again. And then you get a Jorge Teron, who's going to school on Sebastien Hamel.
I'm sure that if Teron could take this fight and start it all over again, he'd be very committed to the body from round 1.
Well, you might want to go back to the jab here. You can certainly coast to a victory. You wonder what the agenda is with Jorge Teron. Is he going to get hungry for a knockout? Is he capable of knocking this kid out? You got to give Hamel tons of credit. We've been talking about the granite chin. He certainly has displayed some clever whiskers in this fight also. And they mix it up and exchange near the ropes. Hamel wisely gets out of the corner, or he might have been in a pile of trouble here in the 6th round.
Hamel was back in trouble back in round number 3, and over the last 2 rounds, he's come back not tremendously, but there's no question that the cobwebs are gone.
Teron's not as accurate as he was earlier in the fight. We haven't seen him go back to that semi-uppercut on the inside, the one that we said he was throwing right down home plate. He's had success with the lead right. He's had Hamel off balance. He twists him around that time while only landing 1 punch.
See, he's going away from the right hand. There he threw it. But when he's throwing that jab, it's just running into the right hand of Hamel. He's got to get that right hand untracked again.
Throws it behind a left jab that time. Hamel leaps forward. He's flying out of his shoes to try and throw that right. He would need a Hail Mary shot to win this fight at this stage, you would think. Inside 40 seconds to go in round number 6. It's scheduled for 8. Good short right hand that time by Teron. I want to see Teron finish strongly in this fight. I think he's shown us that he can be patient. He's shown us that he has boxing skills. Left that time by Hamel, and this is a guy that's not short on game. I think Hamel's going to the Hall of Fame, but you got to love the effort. He's tasting leather now. Teron comes forward again. That's 3-4 shots in succession. Hamel's staring almost as if he's in disbelief that this kid is smoking him like this. Six rounds in the bank here, all of them in favor, in my estimation, of Jorge Teron. I don't know that you're going to label me a genius for coming up with that. Not like I had to understand the new math, but we're seeing a game kid going against a young upstart who's in his 16th pro fight. Getting good advice from his corner and Mark Breland. You love seeing guys like Breland back in the game. I don't know that Breland ever really left it, but you like seeing him working with some of these young prospects because he has such a wealth of knowledge.
Actually, Mark did leave for a short while, and he was raising show dogs, I believe it was. And I think it's something that he does on the side now. But when the boxing is in you know, there's no getting away from it.
As we said, he was such a clever fighter with so much skill. A pleasure to watch. One of the more entertaining fighters that have been on the scene in the last couple of decades. Here we go, round number 7 at the Roseland Ballroom. And it's been a great time. Jeff DeForest, the commissioner, Randy Gordon. Another good job of refereeing in this one by Johnny Callis. Can't say enough good things about these New York officials. They've been tremendous tonight. And perhaps Teron tastes a little bit of leather that he didn't have any intention of eating.
Well, he did get hit, but he was also a little bit off balance and he stumbled there. So it looked like the punch did more damage than it really did.
Hamel fighting from the southpaw stance, as he has throughout. He squared up a couple of times, but he's been much more difficult to hit for Teron in the last few rounds.
Those legs of Hamel have really come back since round number 3. It's amazing because he had no legs under him in round 3, and now he's just jumping all around the ring.
Has to be a tribute to his conditioning. He was waltzing around there like Foster Brooks on an all-night drunk there in the 3rd round, and to come back, once the legs go, we've seen it so many times. We saw it with Eric El Terrible Morales in a Pacquiao fight, as they were rubbing his legs in the corner, and you thought, hey, just throw in a towel. That's it. Once a fighter's legs are shot, usually he's done. But credit to Hamel to hang in there and hang tough. Here he is in round number 7. Another carbon copy of what we've seen throughout most of the fight. Teron was a little bit more aggressive in the first 4 rounds than he has been in these last few, but has to feel like he's got this one well in hand. Teron feints with that jab. He doesn't like to throw it as much. There you go. He tries to double up on it.
Hamel just won't stand still anymore. Earlier, rounds 1, 2, 3, he just moved a little bit. But since he got hurt in the 3rd round, he has turned on those jets.
Few fighters on the card you could just nickname no quit. They've come in here, taken a hammering, just been blistered. Round after round after round, found ways to hang tough, hang in there, maybe with no real chance of winning the fight, but still showing us enough grit and enough determination that you have to give them a round of applause at the end of it.
Well, that's becoming the theme of Gotham boxing. Some very, very competitive matches. You may have a guy with a record that's not sterling, it's not undefeated, but yet they know who's out there. They know who the guys who can really fight, who have the heart, who want to do this. And I got to tell you, Hamel's in there. He knows he's not winning this fight. He's not going to make believe he's winning this fight. But he's trying all the way and trying to bring out the best in Teron.
Going towards the end of round number 7, this one looks like it will at least get into the 8th and final round, potentially going the distance. No stiffs. That's a credo of Cedric Kushner in Gotham boxing. Eighth and final coming up, Roseland Ballroom. Been a great time so far for all of us ringside. Hope you're having a good time at home, wherever you're taking in the fights. Local watering hole. Always a pleasure to be with you. So far, a showcase for Jorge Teron. David Tua victorious in our main event tonight. Scoring, a little bit questionable, closer than I thought it was on a couple of cards, but Tua making another step on the ladder. And I thought it was a great interview we had with David Tua, and he was very honest about the fact that he's not quite there yet, didn't make any boisterous claims, just had that workmanlike ethic and said, yeah, it's business, and I know I've got more to do before I fight for the championship. We'll see if Jorge Teron can make this one a bold statement as he comes out for round number 8. Sebastien Hamel is the fighter on the left of your screen. Jorge Teron, the taller of the two fighters. White trunks, red trim, and labeled The Truth, as in Carl the Truth Williams. We'll find out the real truth here. We'll see if Teron can finish this off to the delight of the fans. I don't know that he scores a knockout against this guy, Hamel. Hamel looks like a guy that is more than adept at surviving. Good right hand that time on the inside by Jorge Teron.
One of Hamel's biggest victories was a fight he didn't even win in his last fight against Michael Stewart, who came in with a record of 40 wins and 5 defeats. Sebastien Hamel took him to a majority decision over 8 rounds.
And he lands a left hook that time, kind of open-fisted, but it did connect to the face of Jorge Teron. Neither fighter down in this one. Rocked in the third round was Hamel. We thought he might have difficulty surviving, but here he is about midway through the 8th and final round, and he's on much fresher legs now than he was back then, earlier in the fight, Randy. Good right hand that time by Teron. Continues to cut off the ring and chase Hamel, maybe in quest of a knockout.
That was the first time Teron in that last exchange put those punches together in quite a while instead of one at a time.
And Teron feeling it right now. Kind of showboating a little bit in front of Sebastien Hamel, knowing that Hamel really doesn't have the ability to hurt him. It's unlikely we're going to see some haymaker come out of the clouds. Although, as I say that, he nearly lands one. Never speak too soon in this game.
Oh, I've done that plenty. Telling you that a guy is coming on, and as I say that, he runs into a shot that knocks him out.
Right, and the guy that you're praising ends up in your lap. Inside the final minute, round number 8 here at the Roseland Ballroom. Jorge Teron putting the finishing touches on what hasn't necessarily been a masterpiece, but a nice piece of work. And a continuation of his ascent in the junior welterweight division. He can stay at this weight, at this height, and maybe increase his power a little bit. He might be able to do some big things if Breland brings him along.
Well, think about it. He's a little bit over 6 feet tall, 137 pounds. I truly don't see him staying at this weight. That is awfully tall for a little weight like that.
Going towards the final seconds of round number 8. Looks like this one will go to the pencil and be entrusted to the boxing judges here at ringside. Inside 10 seconds to go. Sebastien Hamel deserves a round of applause, and he gets game in the final moments of this fight as Teron shakes it off. And what an exchange. Well, it turned out to be a good one. Spirited closing moments to that fight. Sebastien Hamel waited way too long, in my opinion, if he was serious about gaining a victory in that one. And Jorge Teron shows that he's learned some lessons well. Didn't get involved in a brawl. And a workmanlike effort by Jorge Teron, sprinkled in with some of the things that make him a hot prospect. The good hand speed, showed a jab at different times, and that right hand was sweet early in the fight, that short right hand up the middle.
Exactly. He's 21 years old. He's not a contender yet. He's a prospect with a lot to learn. They should not think about rushing him because he's got a lot of ability. He's got that jab, he's got the hand speed, he's got decent power, not crushing power, but I still think he's going to grow. I think you're going to see him go through the junior welterweights, into the welterweights, and eventually through that, maybe even up to junior middleweight, and maybe even as a middleweight. Well, let me see. I'll use my fingers here, got my toes. 80-71 for Teron.
I have it 80-72, but you don't need our opinion on this one. We have the official numbers ready to be tabulated and delivered by genial Joe Antonacci. Of course, probably the greatest ring announcer ever, and I always have the argument right here, Sunnyside Garden, New York, the great genial Johnny Addy.
Johnny Addy.
I think Antonacci's ready to carry on that tradition here, so we'll ascribe him the genial tag.
Johnny Addy pronounced the word champion, C-H-A-M-P-I-O-N, champion.
Champion.
Winner and still champion.
You spell that with 3 E's. Ready to go for the official decision.
Boxing fans, after 8 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Matt Ruggiero scores about 79-73. And judges John McKay and Melvina Lathan both seat about 80-72. All for your winner by unanimous decision from the Bronx in New York City, Jorge, the Truth, Teron.
And unanimous decision. It was a shutout on 2 of the scorecards. One of the judges mercifully gave a round to Sebastien Hamel. Hamel showing perseverance. Teron showing off style and substance as he emerges as the winner of this 8-round fight.
boxing fans, don't go anyway. 2 more big bouts to follow, including Brooklyn, New York's Cindy Serrano. Up next, up next.
Spectacular action to close it out. We'll be back with some closing comments in a moment.
Whoops.